Let's look at how we can use an EventBus with UniRx Observables to send data between objects that have no references to each other. Both orc and human scripts don't have any references that point to one another. We will build the EventBus in such a way that it works with keys, which can be both strings and enums. First, we have to make sure that UniRx is installed. We can find it in the asset store and import it into our project. You can ignore the examples during import, or remove them from the plugins folder later. Now we can create the folder scripts, in which we create our service. Next we create a game object that it's going to hold our EventBus script. I decided to add it here under Services Game Object, so that things stay better organized. I prefix it with single, as this is my method of finding out which game objects have singleton scripts. Then I just add the scripts from the Add Component panel. Now let's make this a singleton. Joke time. How would you call an uncomplicated 2,000 pounds? A simple ton. Instead of the name instance, I like to use an underscore. In my opinion, this makes the code easier to read when you call it from other places. I also think that we shouldn't specifically state that something is private, that's the default state anyway. Now I'm making the game view a little more pleasant than this terrible horizon. Now I would like to create two entities that communicate with each other, to better illustrate the use case of the EventBus system with an example. Orcs and humans are known for their intense communication. Now let's try to get human to send a message to orc. To do this, we need to make sure that one of them is able to listen, and the other is able to send. I will create the on method, which the orc will subscribe to. The first parameter is the key with which we will distinguish the other events. And the second is the callback of the action delegate. I need a class to hold the subject and the key. And of course the event key EVT. Later on, we'll make it possible that it works with strings as well, but for now, I like enums. Let's subscribe to this event on the orc and see how this looks like. Now let's create a new event observable and modify its constructor to receive the event identifier. We also initialize the subject. We will observe it on the main thread. And once activated, it will call our action callback. The next step is to add this event observable to an observables dictionary, which will contain a group of these event observables via a list. We will use the lock keyword, so we can keep the interaction with a dictionary thread safe. For more information on locks, check the description. We first check if the dictionary of observables already contains an event with this key. And we add it. Otherwise, we create the key entry and then add it. Now that we have the observable registered, we can work on the emit method. This method again requires the key to emit on. We lock the dictionary of observables. and if it contains the event key, we activate the event by writing subject on next. On next must receive a value as the first parameter. So we are going to add an optional parameter to the emit method. Now let's test the end-to-end functionality. Human emits to orc, and orc didn't receive. Fucking shit. The problem is, we need the orc to subscribe to the on event first, before the human emits the event. Of course, I knew that. Okay. So we do emit when we click on the cube. Which is a better way to test it out anyway. It works. Let's take a look at this. So step 1. Orc registers for the test event. 2. The human issues the test event. Step 3. Profit. 4. Orc receives the event in the delegate function. Now let's also write a function to unsubscribe from events. For this, we need the event observable to have a unique ID for this subscription. We initialize it in the constructor. On the unsubscribe method, we lock the observables again and find the observables with the event key. The unsubscribe method will receive the event key and the globally unique identifier. The same goes for the private unregister method, which finds the observable with this globally unique identifier and removes it from the list. We also need to store the disposable that we get when we observe the subject, so that we can fully release the resource when we want. And let's dispose of it before we remove the event observable. In addition, after unsubscribing, we have to check if the observable with the provided key becomes empty. And if it does, we should eliminate it. Strong word. Strong code. Much programming. It works. Before creating another on method, let's do some refactoring and move some assignments to the event observable constructor. The new on method will receive an action delegate, with a type object parameter. We also need to make another constructor implementation. We can also refactor the register observable, to return a globally unique identifier. Now let's try to send a string from orc to human. We also continued to destroy the orc, but this time, after a few seconds. On the human default mono behavior start function, we subscribe to the new event. And it works. Now I'll leave you with a time lapse to make it work with string keys. I will also leave the code in the description of the video.